I have many names. Arisi, Oriza, Alruz, Arroz, Riso, Riz, Rai, Reist, Rice. I am called by many names, but today let me name the unnamed. Let me reclaim the lost, the suffering, the deceased, the millions that have toiled through each passing day, that have worked jobs left only to the poor, that have been ripped off of their shaky grounds of security, of food and shelter. The thousands that set on foot to journey miles and miles back home when the cities and the system could not protect them as they should. In a time when a global crisis brings to surface years of ignorance and injustice to the poor, it's time to name them. From my origin to evolution to significance, I have never been separate from you. You have turned to me for strength, comfort, and survival. But today, I give myself to remember the names forgotten. I am called by many names: Arisi, Oriza, Riso, Reist, Chawal, rice. Birthed from the Tamil word Arisi, my name has traveled across different languages and lands to be hailed as the most essential grain, the staple food, that which sustains the world's food security. With 3 billion people depending on me, it's not a metaphor when the Sanskrit word for me, dhanya, translates to the sustainer of the human race. A steaming bowl of aromatic rice that adorns your dining table isn't a mere gift from nature.
Sorry? English, please?
Do you make art?
Yes, it's the performance.
Sure.
It is the sweat and blood of generations of tribals and farmers, the forgotten, that carefully cultivated the wild version of me into the edible grains you eat today. Parisi, Alruz, Riso, Ris, Reist, rice. I'm called by many names, but today let me name the unnamed. Each grain of me holds the story of my origin and migration. I come from Asia as both Indica and Japonica. I sprang from a domestication event that occurred 13,500 to 8,200 years ago in China and India, from the wild rice Oryza rufapogon. In India, I was cultivated from the wild species Oryza nivara as early as the 3rd millennium BC during the Indus Valley civilization.
Wonderful, making us aware of what's going on. And so, how can I join support the initiative?
If you want to join me right now, you can join me in writing your names, or you can also practically, if you want to donate to places, you can do it.
Yes, I saw one that resonates really good. Earth fish.
Sorry?
Earth fish. What's the last one?
The last one.
So, can I?
Well, you can join me right now if you like.
My name?
So I'm writing each person's name on each
And I get to my daughter is home, so
I'm performing to Taiwan.
I take my daughter with me. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for saying.
This is a gift for you. No, really. It's for inspiration. Because
From these lands, I moved from one hand to another, one culture to another. Moving to Taiwan, Philippines, Indonesia, and East Africa. From Egypt and West Asia, I found myself in distant lands through river trade and entered the land of Europe. The Moors brought me to the southwest corner of Europe and to Sicily in the 9th and 10th century. By the 15th century, I had spread throughout Italy, France, and other countries. In 1520s, I found myself among Spanish colonizers who took me to distant lands of Mexico and among enslaved Portuguese and Africans who took me to Brazil and America. A migrant grain finding home in distant lands. Arisi, Oriza, Baifan, Bikas, Nasi, Arza, Al-Ruz, Arroz, Riso, Ris, Rai, Reist, rice. I am called by many names, and so are you.
With 3 billion people, it's a metaphor in the Sanskrit word for dhanu, translates to a sustainer.
Also, it's interesting because rice in itself is also a migrant grain. It's migrated throughout the world. It's become like a global.
And do you know where this ethanol is going to? Is it staying in India or is it being sold abroad?
Each cell and each grain holding our origins, our histories, and movements across lands. I wasn't born here, yet you consume me as one of your own. From where I originally come, I am known as the protector, the strength, the one that crosses boundaries, all boundaries of class, caste, creed, race, and religion. Whether rich or poor, I exist in each home, in abundance or scarcity. A sick day or a bountiful feast, I am your comfort and your luxury. I am the essential and the sacred. The Indian land that bears my seed not only regards me as holy to the hungry soul, but also as the one embodying the female spirit, a mother figure, the one that invites prosperity, fertility, and strength. It reveres me as the goddess Lakshmi, churned out of the cosmic ocean of milk. She was born to provide the inhabitants of the cosmos wisdom, beauty, strength, and sovereignty, along with food, clothing, and shelter. Food, clothing, shelter. Rice, cloth, house. A bowl of rice, a piece of cloth, and a house. They will provide the same quality of nourishment, comfort, and shelter to all without any prejudice. You may judge each of these, but they will never judge you. I'm reminded of a story that I have often heard women recite during their annual worship. Story of the Lakshmi Purana. It goes something like this. Once, Lakshmi, in disguise, went out of the temple of Puri and wanted to see how her devotees were worshipping her on her designated day. She was disappointed because nobody was worshipping her except one untouchable woman. Lakshmi went to her house and, being pleased, granted her a number of boons. On her return, her husband Jagannath, adequately incited by his brother Balram, rebuked her and asked her to leave the temple since she had become an outcast by visiting an untouchable household.
You can, so yeah, sometimes it dries up, absorbs a lot of moisture. So you might need to like bleach it. Yeah.
To Namkaran, an infant's naming ceremony, where the father writes the baby's name on a plate of rice cake and whispers
Rice bowls.
Yes.
4
You
times
can go to them and get your
to
name
write
written on
That's
them.
true. I was thinking about that
Yeah.
exact. Your name in a rice. That's true. That also happens in Korea.
Yeah, also in Bogota they make like necklaces.
Being utterly offended by their lack of appreciation of her visit to a devotee, irrespective of caste, she cursed them. She cursed them to be deprived of food until she offered food to them. She vowed to teach both the brothers a lesson by showing her own capabilities. Since she was in charge of all the food grains of the mortal world and also in charge of household affairs, she saw to it that both the brothers did not get any food.
Judge each of these
You can write
they will have
the first half. If there are two names, you can write the first half of one side and the other name on the other side. It requires a lot of precision, but it's once you do it, it's actually pretty.
Oh, it's visible. You can
Yes.
see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can please
Yeah.
feel free to see the name.
that I've often heard women recite.
She resorted to this punishing act as she felt that otherwise men of the mortal world would just not care for their women. Being deprived of food, the brothers roamed around and finally landed on the doorstep of the same household where Lakshmi had been living. Lakshmi fed them well by declaring herself as an untouchable. Jagannath realized his fault and promised her autonomy of free movement among her devotees without any caste bar, and that members of all castes would share the offerings to him together without being an outcast. Incidentally, the offerings to Jagannath comprise of cooked rice even now. Harisi, Oraiza, Alruz, Arroz, Riso, Ris, Rice, Reist, Rice. I'm called by many names, but today let me name the unnamed. Can you see the entire world in a grain of rice? A mere grain, but to many others, I am more. Woven into rituals that promise a rite of passage and prosperity, I offer myself to you.
Lakshmi went to her house,
From Anna Prashna,
being pleased, granted her
an infant's first intake of rice food, to Vidyarambham, an initiation into education where the child forms letters on a plate full of rice grains, to Namkaran, an infant's naming ceremony where the father writes the baby's name on a plate of rice grains and whispers it 4 times into the right ear of the baby. The
On her
named
return, her husband Jagannath, adequately incited
Harisi,
by his brother Balram,
Chawal,
rebuked her and asked her to
Vikas,
leave the temple since she had become an
Alruz,
outcast.
Oraiza, Reist, Rice. I am called by many names, but today let me name the unnamed. The millions that I have been unable to reach, the millions that worked each day from homes far away and for a wage-dependent meal. The millions left unsupported and ignored, penniless and hungry as the world closed down and people stocked up and found shelter in their homes. But their histories and lives will not be eradicated with their suffering sanitized by apathy. Their voices will not be forgotten. There is no work at hand, no rice in the stomach. Let us walk to our hometowns.
मेरा काम भी रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन लाइक नॉन ह्यूमंस और ह्यूमंस के बीच में देखते हैं मैं राइस के बारे में बहुत सोच रही थी एंड हाउ राइस हम इंडिया के लिए इतना इम्पोर्टेंट है और इट गिव्स अस स्ट्रेंथ और हमारे रिचुअल्स में भी इतना वो इम्पोर्टेंट है राइस.
So all these are the names you already written?
Yes.
Of a story that I have often heard women recite during their annual worship. Story of the luxury migrant.
His last name was your first first.
Each life suffering and lost, the forgotten, the unseen, the untouchable, the migrant, the starving, the farmer, the exhausted, the unemployed. Each migrant grain among the millions, for each migrant name among the billions. Let this be their rite of passage.
And even the four who were
Yeah,
left.
will you help me put this
Yes.
in? Yeah, as I said, I have no dexterity in these things.
Arisi, Chawal,
I will
Vikas, Aluruz, Oraiza, Raisht, Rice. I have many names, but today I name the unnamed.
It reminds me of the worker, Ai Weiwei.
Yeah.
He made the seeds with the clay.
Yeah, the sunflower
Some
seeds,
places,
right? And he has this
like thousands of people carved the seeds.
the connections between the skin, the epidemiological thing, because like a lot of them were literally sprayed with sanitizers to cleanse them.
Yeah.
Each life suffering and lost, the forgotten, the unseen, the untouchable, the migrant, the starving, the farmer, the exhausted, the unemployed. Each migrant grain among the millions, for each migrant name among the billions. Let this be their rite of passage. Arisi, chawal, bikas, alruz, oraiza, raisht, rice. I have many names, but today I name the unnamed.